All right, you have got to hear about this, because today we're looking at a piece of software that is, well, it's pretty radical. This isn't for editing photos or making spreadsheets. No, this is a tool that is designed to pretty much challenge everything you think you know about personality. It's called Metamystic-X, and it is definitely not another fortune-telling app. The creator calls it a sociological chaos engine.
And it all kicks off by asking a truly wild question. What if you could take the world's most advanced AI, give it a set of completely anonymous mathematical data points from the moment you were born, and just from that, could it actually decipher the code of your life? Well, a researcher recently put this to the test in an experiment they called the Gemini Edge, pitting Google's AI against this very question.
So, how did the AI do? Well, when they fed it the anonymous data for Elon Musk, it kicked out a psychological profile that matched his real, verified biography with a, get this, 99% accuracy. I'm going to say that again, 99%. From just a bunch of numbers on a chart to a near perfect map of a person. And that wasn't a fluke. For J.D. Vance, a completely different personality, the final score came in at 96%. They ran this test on a whole bunch of public figures, and the results just kept coming back in the high 90s. The AI just kept finding this unbelievably strong connection. So, what on earth is going on here?
To really understand those numbers, you have to look at how the experiment was set up. This was not about proving some mystical belief system. Nope. This was a straight-up scientific stress test, using a very new kind of intelligence to analyze a very, very old set of data.
The method was just brilliant in its simplicity. First, they generated 10 natal charts, which are basically just a mathematical snapshot of the solar system at the moment of birth. But they stripped all the identifying info. Names, dates, places, all of it, gone. Second, they fed only that raw mathematical data to the Gemini AI. Third, they just told the AI, build a detailed psychological profile based only on these numbers. And the last, most important step, they put that AI profile side by side with the person's real-life biography to see how well it stacked up.
You know, what's so powerful about this is what it proves. The AI's incredible success shows one thing beyond a shadow of a doubt. There are real, undeniable, verifiable patterns in this data. When you strip away all the mystical talk and just feed a machine the raw numbers, a crazy strong correlation just emerges. Which of course leads to the big question, how is that even possible?
Right, so if it's not magic and the planets aren't beaming some kind of weird energy down at us, then what's the mechanism? This is where Metamystic-X lays out its core idea. It argues this whole thing isn't about physics at all. It's about mathematics. And this chart just nails the difference. The model throws out that old idea of planets causing things to happen through some physical force. Instead, it looks at the whole system through the lens of chaos theory. The positions of the planets aren't the cause of who you are, they're a high-precision measurement of the initial conditions of the complex system that is you.
So, what the heck is sociological chaos theory? Well, at its heart, it's the idea that the starting point of any complex system, like the exact moment you were born, basically sets the rules for how that system is going to behave. The specific events in your life, totally unpredictable, but the patterns, the themes, the overall shape of the chaos, that's all determined from the very beginning. You've probably heard of the butterfly effect, right? It is the perfect analogy here. A tiny, almost insignificant change at the start can lead to huge, totally different outcomes later on. In this model, your birth moment is that first flap of the butterfly's wings in the chaotic system of your life.
And this brings us to the key metaphor, the one you really gotta get. The planets do not create your personality. They are simply the hands on a vast cosmic clock. And that clock is just measuring the unique, complex sociological rhythm of the universe at the exact second you came into the system. The chart isn't a map of your destiny, it's a timestamp of your initial conditions.
Okay, so that's the mind-bending theory. But what can you actually do with all this? Well, the developers of Metamystic-X have aimed this powerful chaos engine at fixing a very modern, and I think we can all agree, a very relatable problem.
They call it relational corruption. And we all know this feeling, don't we? It's that endless, soul-crushing burnout from dating apps. It's swiping on pictures, getting emotionally invested in strangers, and then months later realizing you are just fundamentally incompatible. It's a huge waste of our time and our energy.
So what's the fix? Well, Metamystic-X has a feature it calls the anti-swipe. It's a tool called reverse synastry matchmaking, and it completely flips the modern dating script on its head.
See, instead of you searching for people, the engine tells you who you should be looking for. The process is so simple, but so powerful. You punch in your own data, you set an age range, and then the engine simulates millions of potential partners, scanning across decades of time. And then it just gives you a list of the specific birth dates that create the most powerful connection with your unique personal pattern.
And here is the most genius part. It doesn't just find one type of match, it lets you choose what flavor of relationship you want. Are you looking for a high-power match? These are described as intense, volatile, kind of karmic relationships that can often turn into toxic cycles. Or are you ready for a high-harmony match? One that's deep, constructive, and built for a stable, long-term partnership? It puts the power in your hands to stop chasing chaos and start looking for stability.
So, a chaos theory of personality, an AI that can read it, and a matchmaking engine that uses it to find compatible partners. Yeah, it's a lot to wrap your head around. Which brings us to the most important question of all. How can you test this for yourself?
This is the best part. The price for this radical, mind-bending piece of software is exactly $0. It is completely 100% free to download and use, no catch.
The developer's whole goal isn't to sell you a product, it's to get people to stress test the theory. The app is available on itch.io. There are no paywalls, no subscriptions. It's actually designed for you to copy the data it creates and just paste it into your own AI. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever you use. It puts you in the driver's seat. You get to be the researcher. And that really brings us to the core message from the creator. This entire project isn't asking you to believe anything. It's a direct challenge to your skepticism. The message is crystal clear. Don't take any of this on faith. Go test the data for yourself. So, here's where we land. We're left with this one last provocative question that this software actually lets you explore. What if the patterns of your life, the cycles in your relationships, the deep pull of your career choices, what if none of that is random at all? Here's a tool to go investigate that possibility. Download it, run your own experiments, and just see what you find.